The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Monday, 13th of April.
The FujiCast.
Welcome, yes, to the FujiCast Daily, a show about photography, a show which does include some Fujifilm stuff and questions, yes, but also during this time of lockdown in most parts of the world, it's the stay-at-home show where we get to spend some time together talking about pictures and hearing about what and why and all that sort of stuff that you're shooting. You're very welcome, whatever flavour of camera we find in your camera bag. It's Monday, so we have a new daily photo challenge set by you, Kev.
Yes, quite.
Just thought I'd remind you now, in case you have to think about it, which you can enter via the show's FujiCast Facebook group, which you're very welcome to join. Rules are very simple. You can only enter the daily photo challenge in the allotted post. If you enter outside the allotted post, you'll meet one of our Autobots, aka Steve or Peter, our admins. As it's a Monday as well, we'll have last week's daily photo challenge winners and the answers from Friday's Bar Nuts quiz. So we had a question yesterday, didn't we, Kev, that we didn't get to. Shall I, there was another street food. Do you remember we talked about
there was. Nanto had all of the glory yesterday.
Yeah, Nanto, yes, he did. And then we had another question. Have I just lost it? No, I've got it. Here we go. James Parks. Hi, Kevin. This one's just to use. It didn't even bother saying Neil. Love the Fuji Love webinar you had yesterday. Noticed you were the only one who dug in properly and sported a beer. Good on you. Were you the only one with a beer?
Yeah, but there's a couple of reasons for that. One was because the other people, those in America and Canada, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning for them, although that's no excuse not to have a beer.
Course, yeah, well, they should have treated it as airport time.
Mindy, in fairness to Mindy, it was 10 p.m. for her in Hong Kong, and she did have a Guinness.
Oh, did she?
Although she didn't really seem to be drinking it, she did have it. Raj, he probably doesn't drink much, I wouldn't imagine.
No.
Thomas was...
Bobby and Lee.
Bobby and Lee, yeah, they had, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning for them, bless them. So
they sound like a 70s duo, don't they? And on Bobby and Lee.
It was 2 hours long, and I was like, I've run out of beers. I need to go to the kitchen.
Oh, is that what happened when you disappeared?
Yeah, in the end, I just went. It was good though. It was good. Thomas, he organised a good gig there. 800, 900 people.
I know, amazing. So anyway, James says, question about shooting outside on the street. This is the one he couldn't get in yesterday, talking about the Fuji Love webinar, which was Saturday, of course, wasn't it? I've only really dipped my toe in the Fuji waters so far and have an XT1 coupled with an 18mm. I want to build a subtle kit bag, something small and compact with a small C for street work, and would like your thoughts on what to think of that would be more suitable. Is that right? Yeah. Something like an X Pro or an X100 series camera, ? What do you think?
Well, first of all, is there anything wrong with the XT1 and the 18mm that you have currently?
Maybe he doesn't think of that as a street camera. Maybe he wants a slightly later...
Maybe he wants a smaller camera, yeah. Well, the 18mm lens is a fab street camera.
Yeah.
So if it's just a different, more discrete camera body, perhaps, XT1 isn't particularly discrete, then you could look at maybe you've gone down the XT route now, so you're probably more used to the DSLR style cameras, so maybe go for a XT30 or an XT20 or an XT10 secondhand, if and that's basically a little bit smaller than an XT range that you already have. Other than that, you're looking at the rangefinder style cameras, X100 F or V as it is now. X Pro cameras, they're all anything other than the most latest model you're going to get a bargain for now.
Yeah.
And if you're in the UK, always keep an eye on the Fujifilm refurb store as well, because they have a lot of stuff that's been sent in for minor repairs, cleans, and stuff like that, and they rebox it. And I think don't quote me on this, but I think you get a little bit of warranty with it as well. And it's been through the angel hands of Martin at Fujifilm to clean and check and everything.
The angel hands of Martin.
Where do you get all these things? Have you just got like 1,000 buttons?
It's
one for everything.
Angel hands of Martin. I thought, well, that's quite handy. That's button number 44. Another question for another one for you. They're all for you, these ones, Kev. You're in demand. Chris with a K Velum. Having had a few weeks, a very similar question actually, but I'm sure you can answer it differently. Having had a few weeks now in lockdown, I've been clearing out photography lockers and finding a real collection of things I have but no longer require. We've been doing that in our house actually. We put a whole load of wood on the floor out the back the other day. You've seen that sort of area we have out the back. And Sam said to me, right, make something with it that that young Thomas will want. So I'm building at the moment a kind of a scale model of a Class 08 shunter, British Rail. Now, I would not... And I found all the wood in the little woodyardy bit. I had all the stuff. But in the past, I'd have thought, no, I must go down to Wix and get a whole sheet of MDF. It's amazing the stuff you just find that you don't remember you had.
So let me get this right. You're a good photographer. You know everything about sound engineering. You can paint really well. You've been to Australia and you can make a train out of wood.
Absolutely, yes.
Good God. I think I might marry you.
Really?
No! No! No!
Oh,
Gemma stood behind me now. She's going, now that is a man.
Yes. Mind you, I can't make some of the stuff that Gemma makes. She can plumb. Your wife, she can plumb. She sorted out in the first days of lockdown, all of a sudden I thought, oh, hang on, lockdown's failed for the Mullins already because you had a leak in the bathroom and it was coming through the ceiling.
That was they were recording the first session, wasn't it? Yeah. I know. I told Gemma straight away, quick, we've got a problem.
Yeah, go fix it. Go fix it.
I managed to cut my hand just holding the torch.
No, useless. And she can make worktops out of steel tubing or piping or iron piping or whatever it is that you have.
Yeah, I got my little table here that I've got that's ruining the view in the living room. Is the table that she made out of old what do you call it, scaffolding pipes and railway sleepers.
Yeah, and that's and she said on the show last Sunday when we did that thing with her. She said, yeah, I just whipped out, so sorted it out, bang, there's a table for Kev. I thought, there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we, Chris? Oh, yeah, so sorting out his locker. Lenses that haven't seen the light of day for years, extra charges, camera bodies that I've just hoarded instead of sold on. Nothing particularly major, mainly lower-end kit, but nonetheless, a lot of it. I'm a Nikon. Here we go. Another button. I'm a
Nikon
user for landscape and professional real estate work, but fancy dipping into the Fuji ecosystem now. Was thinking of a rangefinder type, something like one of the older X100s or an X Pro 1 or an X Pro 2. My
Nikon
bodies have been really battered across the years, but they're like a proper original Mercedes. They may not look too good on the outside, bit dented and scuffed and faded, but they're perfect on the inside. Any thoughts about this with regards second-hand Fuji kit and what you might buy if you were in my place?
Well, yeah, similar thing. I sold off a load of stuff just before the lockdown, just in time, or went to MPB or MBB, whatever they're called. Well, it depends. It really depends on what you want to shoot. You know, if it's street, then go for one of the rangefinder styles. If it's more landscapey type stuff, maybe go for a 10-24 lens and an XT30, XT20, or XT2, XT3. If it's, if you really want something that you want to replace your Nikons with eventually, Nikon eventually for your commercial stuff, then probably you want to be looking at something like an XT4. And a few of the lenses, 16-55 zoom is great, 35mm, 23mm primes, 56 or the 90 for the telephoto stuff. That kind of, there's a lot of options out there. I mean, you could even, depends on, if your commercial stuff is not, you don't need to do a lot of quick autofocus kind of, tracking and all that. You could even look at the GFX 50S, 50R. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck with the 50R right now.
How much would you get a 50R for right now, do you think, roughly?
Well, they were going for about 279, I think.
Way, really?
I think so. 3,000, just under 3,000.
Fancy myself one of those.
Hang on a sec, I've got to have a quick look now. I know they were on special offer, but now they may probably not. GFX 50R. Okay, so ranging between about 3,000. Wex have got them for 3,199. And bearing in mind, I think they launched at 4,400 or something.
Wow.
Of course, you need lenses, but it depends on what Nikon stuff you have and what you can get secondhand to that if you so wish to go down that route.
Oh, right, there we go. Well, Chris, enjoy your selection. Should we do the? I've got another question for you, but we'll do the Friday Bar Nuts quiz answers. You did very well in this. I'll run through them again. It was on Friday. We'll do 5 questions every single week. On Friday we did Mystery Voice. So here comes the first one.
I am trying to figure out digital like any other photographer is, but what is important to me is the content.
Right.
I can't remember what I said now. It was Annie Leibovitz.
Yes, Annie Leibovitz. She had a deep voice, she said, and there we go. Annie Leibovitz. Next one. This was a challenge. I don't think you got this one.
I'm very proud and very honored. I'm humbled to be associated with that picture.
No, I got that one wrong, I'm sure, because I said it was the De Souza, the President Obama's photographer.
Yes, you did. Yeah, but wasn't it with Steve McCurry? Talking about the Afghan girl picture, wasn't he? Okay,
that makes sense.
Third one, you stormed in there. I thought we got you with this one.
For me, a real artist is somebody who can show us our old familiar worlds in a new and different way we've never seen or heard about before.
I thought that. Kev's never going to get that one, but you're...
And I've forgotten what I said now. Did I say Albert Watson?
No, you didn't. No. You said Arnold somebody. Arnold...
I can't remember what I said
the other day.
Arnold.
He's had several whiskies since then. Newman, you donut. That's
Arnold Newman. You'll have to play back. Just to prove that I said it right on the first one.
You did. No, I know you said it because when you said it, I thought, "God, go you, Kev." Anyway, fourth one.
When I started photography, the Amazonian forest was yet there, close to 100%.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, you got that one straight away. And then the last one, you didn't get this, but when I told you who it was, you said, of course, yes. It's a photographer you particularly like, though.
There's a misunderstanding that my work is about marginalised people.
Yeah, who was it?
Yeah, well, I thought it was Darcy Padilla, but it's Nan Goldin.
Nan Goldin, you're absolutely right. Well done. We'll set another one for you on Friday. And
3 out of 5, though.
Yeah, you did really well. And when you said Arnold Newman, I thought, I got it. Go on, I thought I'd stumped him with that one, but obviously not.
Yeah. See, Gemma, I am a man.
Yes, he is. Soren Hesala in the Facebook group. Who's ringing me at this time of day? Honestly, stop it. Soren Hesala in the Facebook group copied in a message that he'd seen in another group. I thought you'd like this one. A kind of a friend of a friend of a friend of a bloke I once met in a pub that tried to sell me an old Timex kind of friend. Do you remember Timex watches?
Yeah.
Oh. My dad, here we go. My dad is a wedding photographer. One day he told me that he'd always dreamed someday that somebody would say no in church so he could go home early.
We've all thought it.
Well,
don't pretend you've not thought it.
I was going to say, Kev, that was going to be my question to you. Have you ever honestly ever thought that? No, don't answer that question because none of us would want it.
Definitely, you thought. I wonder if it ever's going to happen where they say no.
I'd be intrigued though, when if somebody got up at the back of the church, when. Does anybody have any reason? I've heard that thing said so many times I can't remember it. And somebody stands up at the back and say, "Yeah, I've got a reason." You think, 100 people turn around. I've wanted that moment only so that I would have a good story for the pub, but for no other reason.
It always goes like they always. Not usually, but sometimes what happens is right at that moment, a little child screams out or burps or does something.
Yeah.
And then everybody absolutely roars with laughter. And then later, in the loo or something, somebody comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I bet you've never had that before," where somebody chuckled during the thing. And I'm like, no, never.
No, it never happened to me.
Totally unique wedding. Totally.
Yeah. You must have had those times where they've said, "Does anybody have any reason why these two shouldn't get wed?" And somebody's done the... Oh, really? Have you never used that one before? No, never heard that before. Anyway.
Yeah, bless them. It is their one and only time they get married, unless they get married again.
Yeah. Ben Gillet sent something in as well, which I thought was quite nice. He emailed in. It was something in the postscript to his mail that really caught my eye, which is it's Ben Gillett, by the way, but I just like the French pronunciation of his name, which is particularly pertinent at this time. Help those you can, love the ones you're with, be the person that makes you proud by producing work and carrying yourself in a way that gives you pride. Be assured those around you love you regardless of stature or cash flow and will continue to. The lights that are important to keep on, don't run on electricity. Keep the faith in your ability to turn nothing into something. You will find a way. Build it and they will come. I know that build it and they will come wasn't his phrase, but I really like that. It was That was a nice phrase, I thought.
Well, I'm not going to tell my kids that because they should absolutely be turning the lights out in every room.
I knew you would think of something like that.
The Daily Show Photo Challenge.
Right. So, Monday through Friday, we have a Daily Show Photo Challenge. Do you want to run through the winners for last week and then do today's first?
Oh, yeah.
Have you got them?
Yes.
Go on, then.
Although I can't understand my writing now.
Well, we started Tuesday, didn't we?
What was Tuesday's theme?
Tuesday was a self-portrait. Bring out your inner Vivian Maier.
The self-portraits, right. So that one, we had like nearly 300
That was amazing,
comments,
wasn't it?
Yeah, incredible.
Was it 300? Right. Wow.
Something like that, yeah. So anyway, the one that struck me, and I'm not picking these on photographic technique or anything like that. I'm picking them on ones that struck me as, I just like them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Cian Ballach.
Cian Ballach. Oh, you changed.
Body Old Scotland.
All right. I think. Did you change your mind from the other day?
No, we were just going through them the other day. We weren't picking. I wasn't picking one out.
I thought you gave Steve Weller the prize, but
okay. Well, let's.
Hang on a minute.
There's two prizes.
Whip that back from Steve. Sorry, have it back, son. Sorry about that. Live with it.
I did like Steve's as well, but Cian's Cian's came in later. I don't know because I don't recall seeing it on the day.
Yeah, I think so.
But his was really clever because he had a shaving mirror and his camera and a big mirror and himself. So his portrait was in infinity. It just kept going on and on and on, like the mirror in the Magic Roundabout. Not the Magic Roundabout. What's the one with the dwarves? Where she goes in a little house.
No, you mean the corridor with the red pill and the blue pill thing, where she's going down that.
Yeah, with the mirrors that go on forever.
Oh, Alice in Wonderland. Yeah,
a little bit like that. So I like that. Well done.
Okay.
No prizes.
Then no, there's no prize. It's just the prize is the prize is a jingle at the end. So then we did Wednesday. What was Wednesday's?
Split. No, was that the John Downing day?
Was it Split or I think it was Split composition on the Wednesday, wasn't it?
Okay, so the one I picked out for that one was Neil Walker.
Oh, yes.
It was a good one because I presume it was his wife and her dad or his dad or something. Might even have been him. Don't know. No, it wasn't Neil because I know what he looks like. But anyway, it was really cool because it looks like she's hiding upstairs on the corridor or something and taking this kind of grinning selfie of herself and dad is downstairs on the sofa.
That was a good one.
It was a good one.
And then you really did set a challenge. You went for a John Downing challenge, didn't you, really? And I thought that one was, people were going to really suffer, but they came out the woodwork on this one.
There were some brilliant ones, absolutely brilliant. But the one I picked out was the one we talked about the other day, I think, was Simon Berry's one where he took a picture of himself in every single window and then stitched it all together.
I know.
Very creative.
He went to town, he did. Fantastic. Yeah. Actually, you get a special, extra special clap for that one.
Yes. But stop going to town. Stop it.
No, you shouldn't be going to town. And then it was your dinner, wasn't it? Friday night.
Oh, yeah, the dinner.
The dinner
one. There was loads of these. These were great. Some of them were very brilliant. I'm going to go for, I think, I've written it down. Norton Jansen, I think, is the name.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I liked his one. Very simple. Tins. He called it tins. And it was basically a tin of baked beans, empty, with baked beans in the bowl, and then a nice cold beer.
No, we didn't ask last week, and it seems wrong to ask now, but what I was going to suggest was we'll take all those pictures and put them in an individual post. But of course we didn't ask last week, and officially we should ask, shouldn't we, really? So from this week onwards, your picture may well appear, if it's a winner, in its own post the week after. So, there we go. And in the meantime, of course, there was no prize, but the prize is just to know... Everybody but you is a loser. Right, we need to set one for today. So there's 5 this week, because we started on Tuesday last week, but we're starting on a Monday this week. What do we have, Kev?
Okay, so today, and it makes sense to do it today rather than pick one out of your archives, because I want this to be a powerful type picture. So what I want is a nice portrait of your, not necessarily the most favourite person you're stuck in lockdown with right now, but one of the people. Okay, so either a child, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or if you're in lockdown by yourself, listen again tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Because I hadn't thought that through. Your pet, or maybe if you haven't got a pet, a picture of something inanimate.
Grab a toy, a bit like Mandy Burton did. She grabbed her. It looked like it was Kevin Mullin's toy collection. It was the Action Man that looked a spitting image of you, actually, Kev.
Well, so listen, what I'm looking at a picture now of Jane Bown. Okay, so it's a picture somebody else took of her, obviously, and she's sat in a little wicker chair, and it's a very simple portrait. So I ideally not a simple selfie with, you can use your phone, of course, but not like a simple snap selfie. Think about the background, think about the composition, think about the light. We've still got some nice spring light at the minute in the UK. So maybe, think about how the light has fallen into your house. Maybe you could take a chair into the garden, something nice, a little bit of depth of field. And that's it.
That's it, right. Okay, well, good luck. Rise to that one, please, everyone. Right, here's today's interview, stroke hangout, as they're becoming known as. Before the world became an alternative reality, when we were still permitted to shake hands with a new acquaintance, the local coffee shop wasn't some kind of exclusion zone, and you didn't consider washing the skin from your hands when you returned from something usually as benign as a trip to the grocery store. We had been planning a mental health week. It followed a series of mails that were sent into the show to talk about your experiences of personal projects and photography as a whole and how it helps with mental health issues like depression and, ironically, isolation. As we entered individually into our varying versions of social distancing and quarantine, we decided to postpone it as its own episode and come back to it in due course. Not sure whether that was a head in the sand thing or that infamous expression, let's just let the dust settle, whatever that means. Mental health, of course, is a constant facet of how the world is now operating, so we thought we'd revisit some of the interviews that had been recorded prior to lockdown. There are more due to be recorded, and there is a theme that most involve being out in public, which of course is something not entirely possible right now. So this is one of the interviews I personally had recorded prior to this. Tim Johnston, aka Shrimbo, his website being shrimbo.com, and I'll come back to that name later in the Hangout, contacted us to talk about anxiety and his turning point when 2 years ago he made a purchase, a camera. On shrimbo.com, in a piece written 21st Feb, Tim, you start by saying, I have anxiety. Not the normal, stand in the corner afraid to talk to anyone kind of anxiety, but the world is going to fall off its axis kind of anxiety. And you talk about how you obsess over the smallest of things and you label it irrational, illogical, unnecessary. So my first and very obvious question really is of this moment in 2020 is, how are you feeling right now about the world events unfolding?
Well, actually, it was surprisingly calm. I think for the last sort of few months in particular, I've felt quite a lot better generally. I think that's due to a variety of reasons, but I think there are certain things that I've learned to accept in terms of things that are outside my control. And one of the biggest things and sort of triggers for my kind of anxiety is this idea or this kind of unwillingness to accept what is out of my control. And I think that's something that, as I say, I've got better with. And there are some problems which are simply too big to sort of cope with by myself. And you think about the coronavirus, that's something that is known and it's something that I know is being handled. So in that sense, it doesn't bother me too much. The things that tend to bother me are things that no one else seems to be concerned about and things that just sort of appear to be a lot bigger in my own mind.
My wife always says, you can only control the controllables. It's her favourite phrase.
Yeah, that's a good phrase. Yeah,
that's true. So the reason we've asked people to talk to us about their mental health in this special was really because we'd heard how photography as a medium, as a hobby, even as a profession, help them fight some of these personal demons. So tell me how you found that, though, what the process was. And I guess that really probably goes back to when you purchased your kit, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I got my first sort of proper in quote marks camera in June 2018 and that was the Fujifilm X-E3 with the little 35 f2 lens, and I love that setup. And basically just getting into photography, I found that when I took photos and especially when I had the viewfinder to my eye and was really doing a lot of street photography, that the rest of the world sort of became quiet and I could really just focus on the moment. And part of the problem with my anxiety, at least, is this inability to control my mind and to just really focus focus on the present moment, because your mind is always wandering off and sort of imagining worst case scenarios. Whereas with photography, that really forced me to be able to just focus on that moment and really just be deliberate in what I was doing. And that was really liberating. And especially when you can then look back and not just experience that moment, but have, a photo that you're proud of at the end of it, is really a rewarding process. And it just became kind of an addiction from that point.
So it was completely unexpected, really. You suddenly found yourself thinking, whoa, wait a minute, something's happening here that I wasn't quite expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever I am feeling particularly anxious, or, I'm feeling particular sort of stress on my mental health, I will always grab my camera, because I know, after a few hours out with that, I'll feel much better. It's just something that I think has really helped me get to a much more manageable level with my mental health generally.
You say a few of the things in the article you wrote that I'd like to highlight and draw upon. Well, I've got 3 points, actually. Number one, you suggest in my camera. That's the phrase I like. In my camera, the world is mine. What do you mean by that?
So I think I mean that really with the kind of photography that I do, and a lot of street photography, a lot of documentary style photography, the world is uncontrollable generally, and things happen that are outside our control, and there's sort of chaos happening everywhere. But it's the ability to focus within that moment and pick out a particular scene or a particular thing and freeze that in the camera, when you press that shutter button, and just really create that kind of order out of what is happening in the kind of chaos of public life. And I think that's something that, as I say, I really enjoy, and it forces me to focus, and it's something that I can actually build a sense of a narrative and a story that allows me to control what's going on.
I've heard people talk about tunnel vision at weddings, obviously, when they're getting married, and they suggest, well, I really didn't think anybody else in the room was there. It was just me and him, or me and her. And this sounds to me a similar kind of thing, really. When you're with your camera, there's nothing else in that world at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing else. And that's, partly why I think my wife gets quite annoyed with me sometimes, as supportive as she is when I have my camera, because, it is quite it's sort of a very one-dimensional relationship when I have my camera. And it really does close everything else out. So even going on photo walks or hanging out with other photographers, doing some photo shoots or whatever, it's always a bit more difficult because you don't have the ability to completely focus, whereas you do on your own.
These other 2 points I have are kind of meld, really. I can draw a direct line between me buying a camera and my episodes. I think you've already talked about that, really. But you say photography saved me from prescription medicine. Have you ever talked to groups about this, others that suffer, and suggested that this could be one way to perhaps treat condition?
So I think since writing the article in particular, I've had a few photographers reach out to me, a few friends as well, saying that they experienced something very similar. That's been quite interesting, because I didn't expect such a wide response of people coming and saying, I feel exactly the same way, and photography really helps me with my mental health. And it might be different things. It might not be just anxiety. It might be depression. It might be something else. And I think that people need to have, as a species, as human beings, we need to have some kind of outlet that allows us to focus and allows us to express our sort of creative instincts, because I think we all have them. It might not be a camera for somebody. It might be painting or drawing or making something. But I firmly believe that in order, especially in our society, in this kind of westernized culture that's so focused on consumerism and always working hard and all these other things, or simply just consuming, whether that's entertainment or, YouTube, Netflix, whatever, the ability to actually then create outside of that, I think, is a good way to break that mindset. So I do talk to people about it whenever I can. And as I say, a lot of people did reach out to sort of share that experience.
We've been talking about the importance of personal projects in another feature. I would imagine you're an absolute advocate of that, because this plays right into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think personal projects are fundamentally important, but also I think if you're in a position of being a professional photographer and you're, photographing what you actually want to photograph and you enjoy what you're doing, then I think, that is in a way a personal experience, because you're enjoying it and you're treating it like a personal project. So one of my aims this year is to maybe do some second shooting on some weddings, because I think I want to get into wedding photography and documentary style wedding photography. And I think that if that's something you enjoy and something that you find that sort of fulfills you, then I think, yeah, it's still good to have personal projects, but at the same time, the need probably isn't as big if you're enjoying what you do professionally.
I think there's obviously a link between Shrim and Tim, but why Shrimbo?
So this is something I've sort of kept a little bit of a mystery, but there's no reason for that.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't answer them, because that would ruin the mystery, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would ruin it.
Should we keep it secret?
Let's keep it secret, but I can assure you, and this was something I should have checked before I actually ran with this, Urban Dictionary says that Shrimbo is a Russian male prostitute.
Okay.
And that is absolutely not the origin of this word for me. But now it's extra memorable, so thanks, Urban Dictionary, yeah.
I didn't look it up. I'd have been... I'm glad I didn't, and I got to talk to you first. Tim, pleasure to talk to you, and I'm really pleased that the photography is helping you in the way that it is. Thanks to Tim Johnston, a minimalist brand and editorial photographer based in London. Shrimbo.com is the website address if you'd like to go and look at Tim's work. That's it then, Kev. End of Monday's show.
Can I mention my new website?
Oh, yes, please. We haven't talked about it, have we? Yeah. And we sort of alluded to it last week.
Yeah, it's not quite finished. Well, it's never going to be finished, but it's not. It's not. I wouldn't say it's completed. So so I built a new website in my week of boredom this week, and I've called it very, very creatively Ministry of Shadows.
Ministry of Shadows, really? That's amazing. I really mean that as well. I think that's a great title.
ministryofshadows.co.uk.
Yeah.
You won't find it in Google just yet, so you'd have to type it in directly, www.ministryofshadows.co.uk. And at the moment it's mostly my black and white stuff, but I want it to be ultimately a community type thing. So there's a submission section on there, so you can submit stories, and I'm going to be doing reviews, but it's all about black and white.
What a great idea. So people can have, it'd be like your own magazine, really, that you're curating.
Yeah, it's like an online magazine. Yeah.
Great idea.
All about black and white. Ministry of Shadows.
Is that an online magazine or online zine? What's the...
I hate the word zine.
Really?
Stop it.
Have you ever been to Australia?
Stop it.
I do apologise. Right. We will be back tomorrow on the show. See you then.
Bye-bye.
The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.